online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
What's up? Welcome to the AfterBuzz TV after show for True Detective Season 2, Episode 7, Black Maps and Motel Rooms. I am Ben Bateman, joined today by my lovely co-host, Julia Cearley.
Oh, Ben, you're lovely.
You're lovely.
You're the loveliest. Hi, guys. Nice to see you again.
Yes, we are absent the Joes, or at least one of the Joes. We have one Joe, I think, on the line, or about to be on the line, Mr. Joe Braswell. So we'll welcome him in as soon as he says hello. But this was a crazy episode. If you guys have been lost this season in terms of just the amount of things and plot points that are going on that we don't know, I've just gotten the thumbs up. Joe is on the line. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Can you hear me, man?
I got you, man.
How you doing?
We're great. We're just talking about Episode 7, Too Much Exposition. No, it's not called that. It's called something else. But we were just starting to talk about what was going on with the show and how many things were revealed in these long-winded exchanges of dialogue. What did you think about the episode?
I think I like the episode in general. I probably liked it a little more than it sounds like you did. I feel like they've kind of gone down a path here where they have to get out all this exposition story to wrap this thing up in the next episode or two. It started out as sort of a character study. You get these four characters, and now it's like you got all of this crime story in 3 jurisdictions, and maps and orgy houses and documents. You got to wrap it up. So that's what you get.
Absolutely. I don't think that I didn't enjoy the episode. Like, in a lot of ways, it felt like it was actually a positive payoff because now it started to knit together a lot of the things that were supposed to be sort of generalized throughout the season. But it definitely felt like 6 episodes got us to like maybe 55% of the show, and then we just got like a 30% of the show episode in terms of information. So there was just so much packed in. I watched it twice, and the second time through, I mean, some of the dialogue exchanges where it's explaining what's happening and they're throwing the names of all these tertiary characters at us, that was hugely illuminating. But it's also like, if you're somebody who just likes television and you put this on, I have a hard time believing you followed everything exactly. I watched it twice, and I really had to take notes to keep it all straight. What did you think, Julia?
Well, exposition for days is what I have written on every single page of my copious notes that don't really tell me anything. Yeah. All my notes have written down is just verbatim what I saw on the screen, because I'm like, what the heck is happening? My head is so filled with all this information. I'm trying to track back to all these other characters that we've seen over time. And I mean, yes, there was a payoff. The dots were connected, but sweet Lord, these dots paint this very convoluted and very coincidental story. I feel like Los Angeles is a ginormous place. The idea that it all just comes together in this one little close-knit family of debauchery, and it's just a little bit too much for me to believe.
Yeah, so specifically, we will go. Let's go kind of piece by piece through this episode here and see.
We can, like,
yeah,
so much.
We've got a little less than an hour, and we're going to try to stick 100% to just what we saw on screen this one particular episode, just to see if we can unpack some of this. So I'm going to start with Frank Semyon, who up to this point in the season, we've really seen Frank be a man searching for his place in his world. He's losing a grip on it. He's trying to reestablish himself in some way, and it really felt like this was the first episode to me where he was doing more than talking about. And maybe that's because he realized how out of place he really was, as he describes it, as Secret War going on the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. But I guess we'll start with Blake, his interaction with his henchman, who he smashes a glass over his face.
You know what Frank kind of reminded me of this week? It's sort of like last week when Velcoro had all the coke and all the land and came to the realization that he was going to let his son go and let that battle go. It was sort of Frank, in my opinion, letting go of this idea of what he could be and what he was striving for, and just taking control of his situation, and in the best way he knew how.
Just rocking out with his cock out.
Rock out with his cock out.
Basically.
Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but Braz, what did you think about the craziness of like that pretty gritty scene with Blake? Braz? Did we lose you?
We probably lost him.
No, I'm here. Sorry. Hi.
Yeah, what did you think about that scene, the first scene with Blake, where Frank smashes a glass over his face and then gives him a gut shot after it was? How'd you feel about that?
I mean, we saw visions of this Frank early on with the fight, with the pliers and everything else. I think we knew that Frank had this in him, and frankly, this whole thing was kind of telegraphed. Since episode 3, we knew Blake was kind of dirty. We knew this was coming to this. I didn't know that he was going to kill him. If that hold up like that. I don't know. I thought it was necessary, but I didn't really. I don't think I'd buy it. I just thought, I don't know. I don't know what I wanted. No one goes to Frank going gangster and really, burning down the house literally. I thought it was kind of a cool idea. Again, I just think it's stuck with execution of it. I don't know. I wasn't really I didn't have a real strong feeling about it. When we're done, I don't say I didn't believe it. I just sort of felt like, okay, that's that. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one.
I kind of wish that this had started happening in episode 5, if we had started to see musings of this in episode 5 or 6, because to see it all happen now, it literally... God, I have so many thoughts. I mean, I know I've been a harsh critic of Vince Vaughn this whole season, and to any viewer who's watched this and been watching what we're doing, and it is like, you gotta, loosen up on him. I mean, for me... The realization I think that I've had is week after week is I think Vince Vaughn's a great actor, and I think it's really unfortunate that this is the situation that he's put into, where he's on this huge national scale with this massive expectation for how he's going to execute dramatically, and he's been given this crazy weird script and all this screen time to talk about having a baby with his girlfriend, when really I think that if we had gotten faces...
Stains of the ceiling and weird stains of the ceiling.
Say that again?
Talking about stains of the ceiling as well.
Yeah, he just talks so much. Like, as we said early, it was like seeing the same scene over and over again. This really didn't feel like we were watching the same scenes anymore. This felt like a much more satisfying character to me. He's actually taking action. He's being a gangster. So I preferred that, and I feel like it's unfortunate for Vince Vaughn that he was given a script, and this is his proving ground, essentially, because I think that he's capable as an actor. It wasn't bad or something this season. He's finally been satisfying, but this is episode 7. Yeah,
I agree that this was a satisfying scene because he's been so kept in the dark this entire season. So to see him execute this vengeance against someone who he thought was very close to him, we've seen how close he reveres his staff and the people that work for him. So in that scene when he was talking to Velcoro before, when he talks about, you put your time, your emotional investment in these people, that was a bummer for him. And Braz, I can't believe that you didn't think that he was going to kill him for 1 second. Like, how did you not see that coming?
I think my problem with this in general is it kind of reminds me of some other great, we knew that this was coming. We knew that this day was coming where Frank would go Frank. You see the old Frank come out. And it's kind of going to be Unforgiven, or I use History of Violence, another one, where this person is this from another life the whole movie, and at the end you get to see them actually go gangster. It's really satisfying. Well, we've been watching Frank sleepwalk through this whole series, and then we finally get to see him go gangster. I wasn't satisfied. I don't know what I expected. I just wasn't satisfied. And I don't know, maybe I wasn't dialed in enough to take jerk-handed enough to know whether he's going to kill him or not. I don't know.
I think we've seen him be gangster already.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of it.
Yeah, he's been gangster. He pulled out a guy's teeth, for Christ's sake.
Well, he had the one scene, the fight scene. That was about it. I mean, where he, went Frank. But I don't know. I guess I don't know what I expected, but once we got here, I felt like this wasn't it.
But
so
again,
I didn't back a little bit.
Again, this was another scene, like every single scene it seems like in this episode, that was just exposition for days. It was like, all right, I got you, Blake, you're caught, so tell me everything. Word vomit, every little thing you could possibly know. And it was like, is it that easy?
Blake's like, yeah, here's what's been going on for the last 6 episodes. And we've been wondering.
To get here?
Let me hear. You've been wondering what's happening. I'm just gonna rant for about 2 minutes.
Would you like me to draw a diagram?
Yeah, and that was like so many of the scenes in this episode were like that. So let's continue with Frank and his role in this episode. So he has that scene. Once he finds all that out, then comes the moment where he's burning down houses and he's having like a decisive negotiation with Osip. One thing in that scene, by the way, that I did think is funny, as a guy that obviously likes crime fiction and gangster stuff, this thing likes to happen in these crime movies where like a crime boss, he's got the glass and he's got the bottle, and it's like guy walks in, pours himself a drink, and they both kind of do a shot. And it's like they do it 2 or 3 times during the scene, and this seems to happen in every single one of these like crime lord talking to his associates or business partners. How are these people not just like falling over wasted at all times?
Because they're professionals.
Let's just sit here and talk about True Detective, and during the course of it, we're just going to do 4 shots of whiskey.
Should we do that next episode?
And then at the end of it, we'll just get up and I'll just walk out of here and just go be able to be totally cohesive and like sharp. And I mean, it's just bizarre.
Well, you know what it is, Ben.
What?
It's gangster.
Yeah, that's true.
I can do it. Let's do it. Let's be gangster. Let's be gangster for the finale. Okay, Russ?
It's hard to know guy who just got back from Las Vegas, so I can attest that it's actually possible.
I'm sure you were sharp as a tack the whole time.
Maybe that's why you didn't see Blake's death coming.
Yeah, but so anyway, getting back to the plot point of how this all worked. So Frank walks into the bar and he sees Chisani. He has a great line about to the woman.
Best.
What's he say? Hey, do me a favor and hum my balls a little.
Balls a little. After he describes his family as the Kennedys.
That was pretty sweet. It was just like a funny, just
and
like
she seemed down.
Yeah. She was into it. She was in,
and then Frank had to go and show up and ruin everything.
Yeah, so Osip walks in, and Frank has this very like fake tone that he takes with him when he says, "You're taking this better than expected," and you know Frank's full of it. You know he's planning something. We know. Did you kind of feel like the way he was acting that Osip wouldn't just like know he was up to something?
You'd think.
That's how I felt when I was watching. I was thinking to myself, if I'm Osip and I walk in, I'm expecting a lot more pushback, and the way Frank's acting. He's got to be up to something.
Absolutely, but I thought the same exact thing. Like, oh, okay, you're just going to be a manager of the club now. Oh, no, you don't own this place anymore. Oh, no, you're just on salary now.
Right.
Like, cool, man. Sure, that sounds great. You got to think something is up.
Yeah.
And also, I get the impression that Osip's like this giant sort of crime lord experienced boss, and Frank is not. It's hard to think that Frank. We're supposed to that Frank is going to get the better of this guy who seems to be a little more powerful than him. I don't know. I agree. I feel like that also would be on to Frank, but maybe not.
Now,
maybe he was just so excited too.
During Frank's whole run, where they're showing the like Shawshank Redemption-esque scenes of like buying the ticket and giving the money and planning his escape, and that whole thing. Did any of us wonder? I know a few hundred thousand is what he says to Jordan in the previous episode, right? Or was it this episode?
He said 2, maybe 300,000.
It seems like he's walking around throwing around cash that was a lot more than that. Where did
He's stealing it from the clubs?
Maybe. I was wondering where it all came from. Yeah, maybe he was
taking money from the basements and in the safes, so I'm assuming that's what it was. He just stole all that money from the clubs.
I just assumed that was his because he owned the club previous. Maybe not, though.
And then he walked into his travel agent in 2015, as we all do, as we all book our tickets to travel agents.
It's so weird, right? I was thinking that. I was like, who? I don't even know a travel agent anymore.
No.
At all. And like, I love that he says, these tickets are adjustable, alterable. And she says, for what you're paying, they let you do what you want. It's like, what scene is that? Where is that even? Like, the whole thing was just so bizarre.
Yeah, it was very strange.
So you only find that in Vinci, I guess.
I think some of the Grantland guys mentioned that too, where it's like, what ticket is this? This is an open-ended ticket that you can gift to your friends that you can do anything with. But I digress.
To Venezuela.
So yeah, exactly. So all right, so Frank does that. He makes his exit strategy. He burns the building down. We assume that this meeting of OSIP turning 12 million over that Blake mentions before he eats it, before he watches his lights go out, as he says. God, Frank had so many weird lines in this episode, by the way. I know I'm jumping around now, but when he's in the diamond broker to launder the money, he has the one line that he says to him. The guy's like, "We don't do that. You're trying to turn money over that you shouldn't," and he says, "Please articulate the percentage you would require to transact with me."
For crying
what
out
the
loud.
hell? What the hell is he talking about? Who says that?
Sake.
Braz, no, you didn't pay attention to that one?
No, I did. It's very like almost Yoda-esque. I think you're saying, the words are backwards. It's like, who talks like that?
The percentage you would require to transact with me. I've never used the phrase, "Will you transact with me?" Like, that's so bizarre. That's Pizzolatto, I guess. Frank.
We've been talking about this all season, and we got a lot of pushback.
I'm coming back from Vegas, so that phrase may have been used.
We got a lot of pushback from people when we talked about this before, saying that, like, yes, he's really trying to climb the social ladder here, and he probably does sit there with a thesaurus, and you think at this point he's so desperate he has thrown out the thesaurus. You think he's just focusing on getting done what needs to be done.
Yeah, it was all very, very weird.
Maybe Transact stuck with him.
Yeah, maybe. So he had the one scene with Velcoro, which was not particularly relevant, I don't think. Yeah. And that pretty much wraps up his character for the episode, unless we're forgetting something.
Which I'm sure we are, but that's all right.
Yeah, Jordan, he says, he tells her to pack a bag. She's going with Nails, and then he's going to meet up with him. So I guess we have to assume this $12 million that's going to get turned over at some meeting the next day. Blake told him, I'm assuming that we're expecting to see that in next week's episode.
I would imagine.
That scene or something, unless I misread that. So let's kind of move into the next section here. And guys, if you're watching this and there's anything that we miss or we breeze over something, this episode was so jam-packed. I have to apologize. We're going to do our best to cover everything. Please tweet in or comment on YouTube, and we'll interact with you on this one, because this was a very interesting episode, obviously, in terms of plot points. So let's get into Woodrugh.
Oh, R.I.P. Woodrugh.
Yeah, R.I.P. Woodrugh. Now, a lot of the online stuff
it was one of those riot shots again.
Yeah, I don't know. You saw it go through him. No. A lot of the online criticism of this episode referred to Taylor Kitsch this season as super one note and no emotional range and no range as an actor, and said it was unceremonious to see him go out, but it was kind of like a reflection of his character and his performance this whole season. I really didn't feel that. I didn't think he did a bad job. I really enjoyed him when he was on screen, and in a few of the scenes where he did actually emote, I was impressed. He didn't have a lot of them that he had to, but in the few of them that he did, I thought it was great. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I thought he was dull this whole season.
Braz?
I thought he was not great at all. And I think that it was an unceremonious, I can't say it. It was a dull performance, and it was over. I was out the whole time.
So he gets these pictures sent to him of his wild night with his former lover and
Trist.
Yeah, that guy's name was I can't think of the character's name,
I'll
but
tell you in a second.
So yeah, he gets drawn in by an unknown caller. He meets up with him. Meets up in these underground tunnels and he's being confronted by Holloway, who was, I think that's Holloway.
That was Holloway, yes. The chief of police, Holloway.
In Vinci, or is he a chief of police in Ventura County? What?
Not Ventura County, L.A., because he worked with Velcoro.
Right. He's the guy at the beginning of the season that we see in full cop uniform. And so, he's basically like, this is another scene that was so full of exposition. He says, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I gathered was, he's saying, okay, we went over Teague Dixon, the heavyset cop who took a headshot in episode 4. We went over his apartment, and we luckily came across these pictures of you and your former Black Mountain partner, this guy here, having a romantic moment. So we're going to use this against you, but we were actually looking for something else. And it turns out, now that we're working for Catalyst, which is another nefarious company that you are investigating, we are no longer Black Mountain. We've been rebranded as Ares Security. Now that we work for this company, it's important that we know you stole documents from a secret gathering in Monterey. Do you have those documents? All of these unconnected things that are now suddenly connected in this one moment. Good. And Holloway, a character who, until we watched it a second time, I forgot was even in the season at all. He looked, because he wasn't in uniform this time. He had been prior. This is what we're supposed to take at face value. And then Woodrugh picks off 5 other, like, special ops military mercenaries before getting shot in the back by a conveniently placed Burris waiting behind the right door outside of the innumerable number of tunnels that exist under Los Angeles. That is what we're supposed to believe. Correct, Braz? Did I miss anything there?
That's exactly how it happened, and I like and that's huge problems with all of that. Again, I'm much more interested in the sort of the character study that it started out, but and getting to this cool crime story, but having to tie all this together, with all these like sort of all this story between the whole Black Mountain thing, and then tying up Blake, and then just the diamonds are out there, the blue diamonds, and then the mayor, the railway. It's like, I don't know. It's a lot, but they're seeming to tie up all of these. It seems to be tying this all together, but it feels very forced.
I mean, that scene was just, like, again, so much thrown at you. Did you have a problem that Burris was waiting outside the correct door?
Yes, of course I did. and that it was Burris.
Yeah.
And that it's a, Woodrugh is a super badass, Black Mountain Spec Ops guy who was great in the shootout, took out all these other special ops guys, but then he gets taken out by this guy, Death Jockey.
Well, Burris, I think we're supposed to assume, there was speculation that Burris was the man in the bird mask.
Yeah.
That was like one of the major theories. But again, if he was the man in the bird mask, you would assume he was wearing the bird mask again now, I guess.
No, because that bird mask existed in Casper's little sexual lair. Because remember, there was the missing mask from the wall. So I think he just put it on to mask himself because he knew he wasn't going to kill Velcoro.
Right. Do we think that we're ever going to find out what actually happened in Black Mountain now?
No. Or where all his burns come from? No.
That's all just going to be just never explained?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
That's what's so disappointing, because this is what I was wondering early on. I'm like, God, we got all this stuff with Lieutenant Kitsch, this interesting guy, PTSD, Black Mountain, what happened, repressed homosexual, and then it's like all these interesting places to go, and then it's over, and we never went anywhere with him, other than we got opportunity to go somewhere with Colin Farrell's character. We're still going places with Richard McAdams' character. They're coming together, but I felt like since Vaughn has a lot of screen time to talk about, showing up a lot of scenery in the series, we kind of getting in his arc. But the fact that Woodrugh gets come and gone in these 4 episodes and 7 episodes, and that's all we got. I mean, R.I.P. Woodrugh, but it's almost like, what are we missing?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I feel I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like they set up his character to be sort of this blank slate that we would fill in as we went along, and I was looking forward to that episode after episode, and episode after episode I was let down, and I didn't get anything new from him, and I was very one note. So yes, his death was completely unceremonious to me, and I was wondering what he actually died for. Like, was he dying for the social injustice, or what? I mean, his decision making was so ridiculous. I mean, he was there in this awful situation just to cover up his sexuality, which everyone pretty much knew anyway.
Yeah. His character in this season in a lot of ways actually remind me of, this is going to go way just left field. There's a movie from years back with Sean Penn called The Assassination of Richard Nixon. Did you guys ever see that movie?
Mm-mm.
So,
yes, sir.
You saw it, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's like this.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's super slow. It's super dark. It's got like, Sean Penn is this, like, it's a true story of a man that tried to kill Richard Nixon, I think. I can't quite remember the movie very well, but I just remember finishing it and thinking,
true story.
Yeah, this is interesting. The performances are sound. These supporting characters around you, and I know, guys, if you haven't seen this is completely, but it's a metaphor for what's happening. These supporting characters and details of why you are the way you are, your relationship to your friends, your ex-wife, all this. It's like a character study of this guy, but at the end of the day, it doesn't like solve the mystery. It's just, there's just little pieces. And you think about Woodrugh's character, you think about his relationship to his mom, you think about Black Mountain, you think about his burns, his now widowed pregnant wife, all this stuff. It's just like you said, you're trying to fill in the blank slate, and now he's gone. Who cares anymore? You got a character study in 7 out of 8 episodes of this guy that ultimately none of those details are relevant anymore because he's gone and we never got it explained. They're just teased at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very frustrating. And at least in the case of the assassination of Richard Nixon, we know it's based on a real guy, so the character study is interesting in knowing what happened to this real guy. And that scene, what about the money, Dick? That scene.
Right.
And that was great. But here, it's like, okay, why?
Yeah,
why?
Definitely.
Well, all these pieces of the puzzle they threw in there did nothing to inform his character as a human being, whereas we do have some outside information about characters like Velcoro or Bezzerides, and I feel like those do inform their characters, and I see that in their characters, and I never got that payoff with Woodrugh.
Yeah, so speaking of... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Russ.
One last thing. Here's the other thing that drives me nuts. So when we had that sort of, that head fake of Velcoro getting killed in episode 2, that had some impact. It's like, whoa, TV can do anything, and this is crazy. It's HBO, and Colfero's maybe dead. But here, after 7 episodes, and Woodrugh dies, this how little we care about this character. No one cares. I think the internet doesn't care. We don't really care. It's like, it was so... That death was so... it should have been earned. This is a guy we spent 7 episodes with, and we should have felt something when he died. And he died. I was like, that's a bummer.
Yep, 100%. I mean, this season, and we talk about it every single episode, is likened to season 2 of The Wire. Now, spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't watched season 2 of The Wire, I'm sorry, I'm just about to ruin what happens, but like 9 or 10 episodes in, Frank, I think his name is Frank, Sabatka, who's like the main character, gets aced, and it's a huge payoff. You've been waiting for it the whole season. So when Woodrugh, one of your 4 protagonists, gets picked off, it just doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I'm a bigger fan of his than most, but it still didn't really affect me. The episode ended, and I was like, that's what we knew something big was going to happen. The penultimate episode, you always, in the second to last of these seasons, you always get something big, and this one just didn't really much matter. So let's take this, though, and use it as a jumping point into Velcoro and Bezzerides, the Russ Cohle and Marty of this season, if you were. Which they've definitely turned out, in my opinion, to be the 2 best characters, and their relationship together has, I mean, that's what we've been following to some degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they had a very interesting episode.
Yes, they did. I have some strong feelings about it. I loved everything about the 2 of them in this episode, except from them doing it. I felt like that was a cheap move. I feel like it was completely unnecessary. It felt extremely forced to me, and it had no business being there. I just felt it was very, very cheap to throw that in there. It never had to exist, because their characters have been so fascinating to watch, and their relationship to build. I never saw it building in a sexual way, which I thought was a cool choice from Nick Pizzolatto to do. Like, why go for the obvious? Like, just make these characters depend on each other in different ways emotionally. It seemed very cheap and annoying to me. Everything else I loved about them. Probably this entire season, except that one stupid choice. Not the character's choice, Pizzolatto's choice to put it in there.
See, I didn't feel as let down by it, actually. Even though some of the scenes were so weird in this episode, but like the first one where she's on drugs still and she tries to come on to him, he says, this is not going to help. She says, maybe it will. It usually does. I like that. That's a good line.
I like that.
And then later, when they're actually sitting silently as fugitives, sitting at this table, one of the stranger interactions is she says to him, "You're not a bad man." And he says, "Yes, I am." And then he says, "Do you miss it?" She goes, "What?" And he goes, "Anything?" It's like, what the hell is that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that was just one of the most... It was one of the most bizarre moments in the whole episode. You're sitting intently watching. What's going to happen? Like, do you miss it? What? Anything. Silence for 30 seconds. Cut. What? Braz? Thoughts?
Oh, well, yeah, I want to go back. I actually hated that exchange, the earlier exchange. I thought it was really clunky. The post, when she's coming down off the Molly, that was really clunky, that whole, like, kind of get her way to get back to when she's like, the cornfield. And he's like, what did you say? What did you say about the field? Never mind, forget it. I'm coming down. Then she tries to come on to him, and it's like, this is what I always do. I thought that all happened within 3 minutes of explaining who this character is and what motivates her. And I think it just felt really forced to me. I feel like, I don't know. It felt like the rest of this episode where you get...
We get what?
I'm sorry. We get a ton of exposition. Excuse me. We get a ton of exposition to explain sort of like what we've been building towards all season in two quick lines. I just felt like it was a little cheap.
Well, you want to talk about cheap? You want to talk about cheap? Let's get into the part of this where before Taylor Kitsch gets aced, it's Taylor Kitsch, Paul Woodrugh, Bezzerides, and Velcoro sitting around talking about like plans for who did what and who knows who and who is who, and they throw out probably 7 or 8 of the like tertiary character names in this 3-minute exchange that's supposed to explain the vast majority of the backstory of where this all came from and the diamonds. The place was tossed for the diamonds, like the orphans, crooked cops, and Holloway, the guy that we see in the tunnels under the city, is involved because I mean, there was just so much. That was probably
a lot.
That was that scene.
There's a lot going on.
That was the scene to me in the episode that was the most like. There's no chance anybody watching this show right now is so up to date that they watched that 3 minutes and gathered all of it. Like, you had to watch it a second or a third time. I watched that scene 3 times. And it's still, I'm trying to piece it all together in my head to do like a little recap, and I can't even really keep it all straight.
No.
Well, but don't, I mean, don't forget, in season 1, we had a lot of this stuff too, a lot of very complicated plot and then subtext with the Yellow King and this and that and the other, but we didn't care because it was so visually wonderful and the plot and the characters were invested in the characters as well. This, it kind of turns on what it does. It has turned on the characters, but the whole series turns on like what's going to happen. And yeah, by the time they got to like diamonds and this and that, I'm like, oh yeah, the diamonds. Oh yeah, there's this thing. Oh yeah, that. I'm like, where are we?
Right, because they're sitting talking. This is after we've seen the assistant DA, or what's her name?
Davis.
So Davis has been killed, and Velcoro has been framed, and they allude to this. And so they're sitting talking, and I'm going to see if I can piece this together here to be clear on what happened. So there is an exchange where Bezzerides is looking at this picture, one of the pictures that was sent to Vera, we'll talk about Vera in a minute, by Tasha, it turns out, an old associate of Casper's who was tortured and killed in a shack, which we find out. And one of these pictures has a woman that Bezzerides think is named Laura, and she says, "Who is this? I feel like I recognize her." And instantly Velcoro goes, "No, her name's Erica. She was at the city manager's house. She was Casper's assistant. Secretary. You met her on the movie set."
Yep.
And she says, "Oh, yeah." And he goes, Woodrugh mentioned someone named Laura that was orphaned in the 92 robbery for the diamonds. And he's like, "Oh, wow, Laura. It all makes sense."
Laura, Erica, they're the same person.
Yeah, we could have Woodrugh do a rundown. And you're just sort of watching and you're like, you guys just pieced all that together. You just really? Laura? That was the trigger? There's 2 people named Laura, so...
In all of Los Angeles.
Like, what?
I love that. It all makes sense. Like, does it? Does it make sense?
Yeah, so that was pretty much one of the weirder... That was like one of the more jarring scenes where you're just watching and you're saying, like, somebody in editing put all this together and decided, yep, we're going to give it to you all right now. And this is right after the scene with Blake and Frank. So that was definitely too much jammed into like a 2.5-minute exchange.
Absolutely. My head is swimming from it. Still.
Yeah, it's hard to even...
2 viewings and copious notes.
Yeah. So there was, if you didn't follow, there was a robbery in 1992 during the riots that 2 kids were orphaned. Those kids were orphaned because 2 crooked cops executed 2 jewelry store owners to sell...
Which was Teague and Burris.
Yes.
And Holloway was their commanding officer.
To steal diamonds that were worth several $1 million. They were going to sell those diamonds, migrate to Vinci.
Well, that was their ticket in.
Yes, to buy in so that later on they would have stake. And that's why at the beginning Casper's house was tossed, I think, because they were looking for the diamonds. That's
Which
what
were in his safety deposit box.
And Casper was involved in that district and helped move the stones. So that's what we think. That's what we're led to believe in that scene. So that's too much.
Well, that happened.
Yeah. So that's like that scene. Braz, anything else you want to jump onto before we just talk about some of the other disconnected pieces?
No, that's it. I mean, like I said, if you say so, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I still don't follow it for the 4th time. we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I wouldn't be surprised if anyone listening to this or watching this, it says that Ben Bateman guy got a few details wrong. Let me clear it up for you. And if you do, hats off to you, man. I hope you do, because I did my best to follow it, and I hope I didn't get anything totally wrong. I think it was close, but
Pretty impressed.
well, yeah, what can I say? Let's get into some others. So a few other details. We talked about the robbery with the orphans. These people, Laura or Erica or whatever his name is, that one of them in theory is going to play a role in the next episode. We had Bezzerides' dad. There was kind of a moment of realization there, which I thought was a really nice scene.
I did too.
She puts her dad and her sister in a car, followed by her old partner, to Eugene, Oregon, to get them out of the city for a while she kind of is dealing with some things. And there's a couple exchanges there where her dad is getting emotional, apologizing for the molestation or rape as a child that she experienced in the woods, and saying, "I wish I could give it all back to you." I believe one of his lines is, "It was the shadow of our best intentions," talking about the sort of free love. We were all pilgrims back then, as he says, because she's asking for information from when she was growing up. And that was nice, because for his character, I think there was a lot of us that assumed something pretty sadistic had maybe gone on with him.
I was very vocal about it. I liked that scene a lot, actually. First of all, it sort of let me breathe a little bit of fresh air that she wasn't being molested by her father and tons of people on this commune as my sick head was going. So I felt like there was a little bit of redemption on both their parts in that scene, for the father as well as Annie's character. A little bit of Athena, too. But what did he say to her? "You are the most innocent person I know."
You're the most innocent person I've ever known.
I
Because
thought that was a beautiful thing to say to her.
It was a wonderful line, because she says, you don't even want to know if I did it. You didn't even ask if I did it. And he says, "It doesn't matter. You're the most innocent person I've ever known." That's a great line.
Yes.
That was one of the better lines of writing in the whole episode. Braz?
I love that scene. For all the reasons you said, I love the line. I love that line. I love everything about that scene. I agree with you guys totally.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. There was a question I had.
Glad we got to that.
Do either guys know this, or if anybody's listening or watching, you want to let me know? She's talked to her old partner, who she'd had an affair once in a hotel with, and he had done her this favor, and she's apologizing. She says, "I think she's not very fair to people sometimes." As he's walking away, he says to her, "3 in 1 day. Bet that's a record." What's he talking about? Did you know, Braz?
I did not know.
Okay, so I was in the dark there as well. So then he drives off. We are running short on time, so I want to make sure we cover Vera and Tasha. We alluded to it just a little bit. There's another great exchange where Bezzerides looks at Tasha, and I think she says, "Maybe this is just a thought, but maybe we're put on this earth to do something other than fucking." And Vera says,
"Everything is fucking."
Everything is fucking. That's like one of the lines. And then she's like, "You saved me, but you didn't save me. I didn't want to be out. I liked my life. I never went missing." Thought it was kind of an interesting flip of the script.
But what was the point of that whole storyline? Was it just to get her in there? The character of Bezzerides in general? Just to associate her? Like, what was the point?
Yeah, I guess Bezzerides is like looking for... I mean, clearly Bezzerides is looking to save... She wants to feel like she's, this like justice person, right? She's trying to save her. Because when she's in the party, it's like she sees this girl, Vera, and she just immediately assumes this girl's missing, and she needs to break character and like break cover to just get her out of there. Like, that's a decision she makes while high, which at the time watching last episode, I had a hard time with that decision, because it's like, you're in a very dangerous position. What are you doing just like breaking character in the middle of this party? Like, maybe you should stay for a while longer and like get some more information and then try to get her out. So she clearly has that even on drugs. Like, I'm here to save people. I'm going to save you. I'm value.
Or was that an excuse for her to cut and run because it was too much for her with her flashbacks that she was having, her being on drugs? Like, here's my out. This is my excuse to get out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Vera, did you say cut and run, Julia? Nice turn of phrase.
Yeah, nice.
Because I'm gangster.
So when Vera's talking to Bezzerides, Vera reveals that Tasha was a girl mentioned by Casper. It was one of Casper's favorite girls.
We've been hearing about Tasha every once in a while, like 2 times towards the beginning.
Yeah, and Tasha had tried to send some of these pictures, because she had a camera on her, to Vera, to like a P.O. box or something. That's why Vera had the pictures. And so Tasha was found out and tortured and killed in this cabin that we found right behind the house. That's what like the shackles and the chair were. That's what we're assuming. It's the same thing. Why would they like torture and kill Tasha in that way?
It seems a lot for these guys, for these bureaucrats. These guys who are, like they're like attorney generals and police chiefs and this and that. Unless there's something culty going on and something a little bit deeper, that seemed very drawn out for just what could have been a very fast murder.
There always seems to be something. There always seems to be something culty going on. There's a lot of stuff. So, but again, for that to all come out in episode 8 would seem a bit much. But we're a giant cult, But as well, I'm not really be surprised if that's where we're going.
I mean, it really might be that season 1 taught us to expect this sort of level of cultiness because of Pizzolatto's writing, but that actually episode 8 is going to end. This is going to turn out to be much more of a traditional cop story, and just the weird cultiness stuff is just kind of like an unexplained sub-theme that just happens to be there a little bit, as opposed to like the wrap-up of the first season, which was like far, far more nefarious than that.
Instead of cultiness, it just sort of comes off as sexual fetish.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
Fine. Whatever floats your boat.
So, guys, I do want to make sure we get into predictions here before we wrap this up. It's a tremendous amount of information to try to put together to predict much of anything.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
Well, let's get into predictions. Yeah, what we do predictions.
AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Oh, it's changed.
Oh,
it's a new one.
I was waiting for the big
the lights
show.
And the woo. We didn't get it at all. So, predictions. Who would like to start? What's going to happen in the last episode of the season?
I'll go.
Go.
What? All right, I'll go. Well, maybe this Laura Erica girl was the person who actually killed Casper. Maybe they had something going on, which is why she killed him in such like a grotesque sort of sexual way by blowing off his junk. So maybe she has to come back for some reason, right? She worked closely with him. She's a cute girl. He had sexual weird things going on, so I'm thinking she's the one maybe who killed Casper. I don't know. That's crazy. I also don't know if Jordan's going to make it out alive.
That's okay. That's interesting.
She's off with nails somewhere, and I don't think she's going to make it out.
Pack a bag,
which really bums me out because she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, you liked her. She was, just like Vince Vaughn, extremely serviceable for the role she was given. Mm-hmm. Which is that's like the ultimate story of those two characters this season. It was like sort of like that story existing in a different show maybe would have been really compelling, but in this show it was just super drawn out. Braz, what do you think for predictions? What do you have?
I'm going to go with my prediction I did back in episode 2 and 3, which is we're going to get Frank and Ray and Annie working together like as one big super team to take down. We're going to see our three remaining protagonists join forces finally. So that's going to happen. And I also believe that there is going to be something weird and culty back there. I feel like if you like what you got in episode 7 with a lot of explanations and exposition, we've got 90 minutes in episode 8 to give you a lot more of that.
Oh, is it 90 minutes?
Yes.
Is it double long?
90.
Or it's 50%?
It's extra half hour.
I can't wait.
I feel like we're going to get a lot of story and a lot of like, remember that thing? Well, guess what? It's this thing. So I feel like we're going to get all the answers in episode 8. So look for a cult of some sort, and look forward to our 3 remaining protagonists who finally join forces.
Okay. All right. Excellent. I'm going to just throw in my my prediction here. I believe we're going to get at least one more main character death out of the 4 that we started with, possibly 2. I think that Frank is going to die in some sort of massive exchange where they team up to try to take down Osip or solve a crime. You might get Velcoro and Frank both dead at the end of this. Bezzerides will survive. She may be the only one. That's my prediction. Thank you guys so much for checking in, for watching, for sticking with us through 7 episodes of True Detective Season 2 on AfterBuzz TV, the online network devoted to bringing you after shows for your favorite TV shows. For every TV show, there's a better after show. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, where can they find us? Braz, where can they find you?
At Joe K. Braswell, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope.
For me, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram with my name, Julia Cearley, JuliaCearley.
And you guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram. And if I ever start using my Periscope again, I'll be there too. We'll see you guys for the finale, 90 minutes next week, same time, same place.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.